It is the late 22nd century, and humanity has stretched its reach across the stars, charting new worlds and sowing the seeds for a network of commerce and culture that could grow to one day cross the galaxy. Around this time, echoes of a presence began to resonate through the void. The Deep Range Survey Vessel SMV, Bright Venturer, a speck against the vast canvas of space, cut through the dark on the fringe of explored territory. Its sensors detected an anomalous signal emanating from what appeared to be a derelict craft adrift near the edge of the Helix Nebula. Captain Sam Jensen, skipper of the Bright Venturer, approached with caution and curiosity. The anomalous signal turned out to be a craft, alien in architecture, sleek, dark, and inscribed with luminous symbols, was unlike anything human eyes had seen. Its origin was unmistakably from beyond the known cosmic corridors of humanity. In the dimly lit bridge of the space motor vessel, Captain Jensen stood before the main viewport, staring at the alien craft hovering silently against the backdrop of the nebula. The tension was palpable as the crew behind him monitored their instruments with bated breath. Captain Jensen spoke aloud, "Helm, keep us at a cautious distance. I don't want any surprises. Comms, any response to our hails yet?" The ship's comms operator replied, "Still nothing, Captain. It's like they're observing us just as we are them. That design doesn't match any known configurations from our databases. It's not just alien, it's advanced. Should we initiate a defensive posture?" The first officer chimed in from a computer terminal in the rear section of the bridge. Captain Jensen, pausing for a moment, eyes fixed on the craft, replied, "No, let's not show any aggression. But keep the point defense system on alert. We're here to learn, not start a conflict." As they edged closer, the craft's symbols began to glow more intensely, almost as if reacting to their presence. The ship's science officer, Dr. Emily Tan, had been silently concentrating on the relatively limited data available from the Bright Venturer's sensors. As a civilian, merchant registry vessel, she had little better than the basic legal sensors required for a space flight license. At least this bucket has a high-resolution colorimeter, might be able to guess at the hull materials, she thought to herself. Suddenly, she noticed a change in the sensor readouts. "Captain, I'm picking up fluctuations in the energy readings every time we adjust our approach. It's possible the ship is responding to us, or communicating. Maybe some form of active scan." Captain Jensen replied, "Keep logging all interactions. Anything we learn now could be crucial for understanding their intentions and technology." The comms operator spun around in her chair, almost subconsciously raising her hand like an overexcited cadet with the right answer. "Captain, I have something coming through. It's not audio or video. It looks like a data stream. I'm redirecting it to Dr. Tan's station. Receiving it now. Let's see if we can make sense of this." "It could be their way of introducing themselves," said Dr. Tan, the light from the terminal casting a strange glow across her face on the dimly lit bridge. Captain Jensen, turning back to the viewport, addressed the entire bridge crew, "Everyone, let's remain vigilant but open. We might be on the verge of our first real interaction with an extraterrestrial civilization. This could change everything." The first officer stood from his station and responded, "Understood, Captain. I'll make sure all departments are on standby for whatever comes next." As the Bright Venturer hovered silently in space, its crew ready for any possibility, the encounter with the mysterious alien craft unfolded as a moment of awe and tension, a dance of communication between the known and the unknown, where every signal and symbol could hold the key to a broader universe. Initial encounters with the masters of these strange craft were tense but marveled with a cautious exchange of greetings. The beings identified themselves as envoys of the High Triumvirate, explorers from a distant civilization seeking traces of their ancient progenitors. Their polite inquiries about human history and culture were met with equally polite offers of assistance and friendship. It was an encounter that marked the beginning of what many hoped would be a prosperous relationship. Humanity, united under the banner of the United Terran Dominion, an evolution of the United Nations, spawned when nation blocs like NATO and BRICS brought humanity to the edge of nuclear destruction in the mid-21st century, embraced this new connection with a blend of optimism and wariness. Diplomatic channels buzzed with activity, and soon, a treaty of cooperation was drafted. The Triumvirate shared glimpses of their advanced technologies, shielding systems that could deflect asteroids, energy sources pulsing with unseen efficiency, and medical advancements that promised extended life. In return, they asked only for access to human cultural archives and permission to conduct archaeological surveys on uncolonized planets. The exchange was heralded as a new dawn. Months turned into a year, and the relationship deepened. Triumvirate ships became a common sight in the outer colonies of the frontier sector known as Leo, their sleek silhouettes parting the star-studded black like phantoms. They were met with waves from dock workers on space stations and curious glances from the decks of passing trade ships. Yet, beneath the veneer of diplomatic exchanges and shared scientific endeavors, unease simmered. Reports filtered back to Dominion intelligence officials of triumvirate ships lingering near military outposts and critical infrastructure. Communications that once seemed open and transparent grew sporadically vague and evasive. The human military strategists, led by Admiral Lucas Krieg, harbored suspicions that not all was as it seemed. The triumvirate's interest in Earth's strategic assets hinted at motives unspoken. As these suspicions grew, so did humanity's preparations. Yet, in the vastness of space, where light from distant stars took years to touch neighboring worlds, secrets remained well cloaked in shadows. The true intentions of the triumvirate would only be revealed when their ships, no longer content to hover at the fringes, turned towards the human colonies with a sudden and unstoppable intent. It was on a quiet day, under the pale light of colony world solstice's twin suns, that the fragile peace shattered. Without warning or declaration, the triumvirate fleet, which had sailed through human systems as ghostly voyeurs, descended upon the outer colony. Their advanced weaponry, once demonstrated as tools of peace, now unleashed devastation with clinical precision. Solstice would feel the kiss of the flames of war, its minimal defenses totally unprepared for the assault. Echoes of the invasion of Solstice would reverberate across human space, a dire prelude to a war that no treaty could have anticipated. As humanity braced for the storm that approached, they realized that the shadows on the horizon had been a harbinger of the conflict that was now upon them. Chapter 1, Kiss of the Flame. Excerpt from 3 Crowns, an overview of triumvirate culture, society, and technology by the Dominion Xenoanthropology Institute. The triumvirate's approach to warfare, often seen as the efficient application of organized violence, is deeply rooted in their societal values and historical evolution. The 3 species of the triumvirate, Olo, Antega, and Xerxer, each bring unique strategic perspectives that have shaped their military tactics. For instance, the Olo reverence for the progenitors manifests in their battle doctrine, which emphasizes honor, personal combat, and the subjugation of lesser species as a form of divine mandate. The Xerxer, with their meticulous nature, contribute to the logistical and technological aspects of warfare, ensuring that each campaign is supported by robust supply lines and cutting-edge technologies. Lastly, the Antega's aggressive and expansionist nature drives the triumvirate's relentless push across the stars, often leading their fleets to the front lines. This confluence of traits made the triumvirate a formidable force, feared and respected across the known universe. Dominion Colony World Solstice, year 2196. Solstice was a verdant gem among the human outer colonies, its fields a patchwork of golden wheat and emerald groves that stretched beneath the dual suns. The air was filled with the scent of harvest, and laughter echoed from the markets to the meadows. Life here was shaped by the rhythm of seasons, not by the drumbeats of the buzzing pop cultures and bustling economics of the sprawling urban centers of Seoul, or even the inner colonies. That peace was shattered on a day that began like any other, with farmers tending the fields with their automated equipment, children at play, and everyday people going about their everyday lives. Mayor Jonathan Ellis, a third-generation Solstician, stood at the podium in the central square of the colonial capital Havensburg, preparing to address the crowd gathered for the Harvest Festival. In the bustling central square of Havensburg, the community's excitement was palpable. Vibrant stalls displaying the season's bounty lined the paths, and the murmur of contented citizens filled the air as Mayor Jonathan Ellis stepped up to the podium. His gaze swept over his fellow Solsticians, pride swelling in his chest. My friends, my family. Today, as we stand amidst the fruits of our labor, let us remember the journey that brought us here. From our forebears who first turned this soil, to each of you, whose hard work nurtures this land we call home. A woman in the crowd, Mary, a local farmer, turned to her neighbor, a grin spreading across her face. Hear that, Joe? Sounds like the mayor's been reading his grandfather's speeches again. Joe, chuckling, replied, if it rouses the same spirit, I'd say keep reading them. Makes me proud to be a Solstician, hearing words like that. As the mayor continued, a young boy tugged at his mother's skirt, pointing up at the sky where a strange shadow began to form. The boy, looking up past his mother, said, "Mom, what's that in the sky? It looks weird." The mother, squinting, replied, "Probably just a cloud, sweetie. Let's listen to the mayor, okay? They're going to have fireworks right after his speech." But as the shadow grew and the daylight seemed to dim, murmurs rose from the crowd. Mayor Ellis paused, confusion etching his face as he followed the gazes of his constituents. Mayor Jonathan Ellis gazed at the sky with concern. "Let's remain calm. It might be an unscheduled flyover from the Colonial Defense. I'll get confirmation." He stepped away from the podium, pulling out his communicator to contact local authorities. But before he could dial, the air was split by a deafening roar. Panic erupted as the first of the triumvirate ships broke through the atmosphere, its ominous silhouette blotting out the suns. Mayor Ellis shouted over the chaos, "Everyone, please. Move to the emergency shelters. Do not panic. Stay together." Amidst the burgeoning chaos, Mary grabbed Joe's arm, pulling him towards the nearest shelter. Mary barked at him, "This isn't a drill, Joe. We need to move, now." Joe, as they ran, barely able to speak in exasperation, said, "I can't believe it. Who would attack us? We're just farmers." As the first plasma bolt struck the ground, setting the nearby fields ablaze, the reality of their plight became stark. The day had started with laughter and celebration but was now a desperate fight for survival. The once peaceful colony of Solstice was thrust abruptly into an unforeseen and terrifying conflict. Mary and Joe looked up, almost immediately freezing in their tracks as their shock and awe turned to pure horror. The sky was filled with ships, sleek, dark vessels that moved with predatory grace. Without warning, bolts of intense white-hot plasma sliced through the central square, disintegrating the podium where Mayor Ellis had stood seconds before. Panic erupted as the invasion began to make landfall. The Triumvirate's troops descended, their armor reflecting the twin suns like mirrors of doom. They moved through the crowds with terrifying efficiency, their weapons not just tools of conquest but instruments of fear. The local security forces, comprised mainly of civil police, private security guards and a small contingent of planetary defense, were quickly overwhelmed. Their projectile weapons could harm, and indeed kill the invaders, but with their advanced shields and armor it would certainly appear to take a lot of shooting. Within hours, the military outpost on the edge of the colony had fallen, its communications array, the lifeline to the rest of human space, smoldering ruins. In the chaos, a young farmer named Mia Tan grabbed her daughter and fled towards the outskirts of town. Amidst the fleeing crowds, she stumbled upon a group led by an old veteran, Captain Mark Lewin, who had retired to Solstice years ago seeking peace after a life spent in the service. Recognizing the need for organization amid panic, Lewin took charge, guiding the group towards hidden caves known only to the locals. Mia clutched her daughter's hand tightly. Darting through the throngs of panicked citizens, she managed to push her way through the crowds towards Lewin's authoritative voice, cutting through the mob immediately surrounding her. Mia recognized him from the town meetings. His demeanor now was that of a man reverting to old habits in the face of crisis. Ships continued to land, unloading more triumvirate warriors, escorted by their soldier drones and their war beasts. Part animal, part machine, these war beasts came in a variety of shapes and sizes. From reptilian creatures about the size of a dog, with razor-sharp teeth and cybernetically enhanced senses, to towering behemoths that resembled bipedal elephants equipped with armor and heavy plasma weapons surgically grafted to their bodies. Another form of humanoid drone, similar to soldiers, but with appendages geared towards engineering and utility, moved amongst their forces with chilling purpose. It was clear the Triumvirate was not just invading, they were laying claim, marking Solstice for subjugation. Mia had to nearly scream over the crush of people around them. "Captain Lewin, please, can my daughter and I stay with your group? We don't know where to go."